Hello everyone, my name is Jenny and I am going to speak to you today about the full moon that we have coming in Virgo. So let's talk about the virus first of all, because I know that a lot of people are tuning in for that. So we talked about with the eclipses that we had that Mercury and Ceres were right in the middle of everything that was happening. And with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and Mercury rules Virgo, and so health is included in Mercury. That falls under the domain of Mercury. A lot of people see Ceres as a co-ruler, or that she has something to do with Virgo, and she also relates to like how we grew up, how we were raised, and food. And so I just want to reiterate that that's shown in the astrology that Metatron is saying that was a natural occurrence. It was a natural occurrence. And so he's speaking to me now about all of the fear that is really the real epidemic, is what he's saying is the fear. He's saying that the fear is the driving force of the epidemic. And he's pointing out how that relates to Saturn and Pluto. Saturn and Pluto in their lower energy are fear. And so he's saying that everyone needs to just take a collective deep breath and exhale and just allow things to play out in the way that they will without becoming a victim of fear. And he's talking about fear being, false evidence appearing real, and that to just discard. He's talking about for your own peace of mind, not as like he's giving an order, but he's suggesting that in order to keep your peace of mind, allowing conspiracy theories, he's saying, to float away. Okay, I talked about in the last video, I think it was the last video, I talked about that the media, because of the astrology, whatever I was talking about in that instance, it showed that the media hype would be talking about something. I didn't know what, it doesn't show obviously exactly what it's going to be, but a lot of people are participating in that and, posting this and this, and it's just, the Facebook newsfeed is, he's saying it's contagious fear, and he's saying it's more contagious than any virus. And so what he was talking about with the Clarion call is a call to action, and springing into action from a place of hope and allowing fear to be left behind. So I guess I will just continue now talking about this. So I channeled Nostradamus at a conference in 2018. I have never channeled Nostradamus. Well, maybe I have on video that I know of. I channeled him when I was first on Blog Talk Radio. That's what I was doing just for a few short months before working up the nerve to get on camera to talk about astrology. I was doing it there. And so I'm going to do a bigger or longer, more extensive look at things with Nostradamus coming up, sometime within the next few months, maybe 3-4 months. What I see now is July, but that can change. But just today, we're going to address, so if any of you are able to, you can see that he's here. Metatron is behind me. I see him in his soldier gear. That's the way that I saw him when I was like in my early 20s. But typically he's here for me. That's the same place that he was when I was 11 years old and heard his voice. So if you're able to see, you could see Nostradamus here. But what he would like me to, or what we would like to share is that what's happening now, okay, with COVID-19 is preparation. And it's mainly to show people in government and people that rule these institutions what we need to be prepared for. Okay? Now, having said that, this is, he's saying, a precursor to things that will play out, and I mean in decades. This is one of those, things that it's maybe easily caught, but people don't even recognize. A lot of people don't realize that they even have it at first, and it really depends, individual to individual, how serious the virus is, and that it's important to take precautions, of course. Continue washing hands. Try not to be in big public assemblies. I have a very close friend that I speak to every day. I just got off the phone with her now. She's in northern Italy. Her village was not quarantined, but they don't have church. They don't have school. They don't have sporting events happening. There's no movies, new movie theaters. They still do have restaurants, which really having worked in restaurants when I was younger, I worked in a lot of restaurants, and I'm surprised by that, but that's the way that they're handling it. Not being like in big public places. They're actually supposed to stay a meter away from another individual if they're out in public, which is a little bit hard to enforce. But, but being careful to, take the precautions that he's saying we're being instructed to take by those in places that understand these things and how they're spread. And so just following that, and he's saying like not allowing fear to take hold. But the point is that this virus, like the whole reason that not the whole reason, because obviously some people did choose to leave the planet this way, a lot of people, but it's only, the mortality rate is less than 4%. And or so, and I believe, to be honest with you, that it's lower, because I believe that there's a lot of cases out there. He's saying that we're misdiagnosed and actually were that virus, but at the time it wasn't recognized. My friend in Italy shared with me that they found that there was a man from Munich who had traveled to Singapore, and I don't remember the other country, so I'm not going to say for sure because I don't remember for sure, but eventually made his way to Italy. And so they believe that was how it was spread into Europe. But, really prayers for him, because how'd you like to be the one that did that? But this is really so that the governments that we have now understand the seriousness, that they're looking at it seriously and planning for future outbreaks. And so what I was shown and what he shared with me was that this is the first in a series of 3, and the second occurs decades from now. What I see now, and I'm going to share this with you, but I'm always honest with you guys, that when you're given a date, and we've seen this, how many events do we have to have before we realize that when someone is going around saying this is going to happen at this time, that it doesn't happen. They don't give dates. And because there's a lot at play in how these things come about. And there are a lot of souls involved in the decision-making process, but also by individual actions. Like one person doing something doesn't open a gateway. It doesn't work that way. We're all, he's saying, cogs in a wheel that just keeps rolling and plays out synchronistically, all of these events. So I'm going to say, well, first I'll just say that we are going to talk about the event that's, as far as I'm seeing, because I've been shown. And so I'll talk about that with Nostradamus when I do the channeling with him, whenever they say that it's time to. They told me that right now is not a good time because of the energy of fear that's going around, that it would just amp people up, and we don't want to do that. And people really wouldn't be hearing it. So what I was shown was that this is like for us to be prepared and have systems in place to handle these things, because there will be like smaller outbreaks between now and the second time that we have like a worldwide, I don't know what to say for that. A worldwide sort of, what do you want me to say, health event or something that's contagious, like a contagion sort of thing. What I'm seeing now is 60 years. And then as soon as I said that, they showed me 30 to 60 years, because Metatron has always told me never to give a specific time, because he said it immediately discredits someone to do that. So yeah, 30 to 60 years now. But yeah, I am seeing it closer, like 50 to 60 year range, but that can change. And that's the whole point of saying it that way, is that I want everyone to understand that when someone is saying that this and this is going to happen at this time, that isn't necessarily, I mean, that wasn't from, that pure love vibration, because that, if you understand things in there, when you're going through the energy of the white light, the alpha and the omega, the energy of the creator who holds all of the secrets and knows everything. But Metatron is saying does not dispense that information. That information comes through as needed, and that we're always on a need to know basis. And so what we need to know now is that this is so that governments and the infrastructure, he's saying, is ready. The second, and I'll say again that between this and the next, okay, and there's 3, between this and the next, there are smaller outbreaks, and I don't see what they are. I see where they are in the world, and I'm not going to mention that. But he's saying pockets. They're like little like it's not going to be something where, it's a worldwide thing. And those are not so serious, but they help again, because as we come up into the second one, which again is decades from now, that one is very sinister, not as easily spread. And he's saying more easily contained, but that it will, that will be like a more serious health risk. Like if you are infected with that, not you, a lot of us won't even be here when that happens. But when people are exposed to it, it's not as contagious, but that it's a more dire situation is what he's saying. And so, like I'm not even honestly seeing a timeline at all for that third. And I really don't think that we'll be here when that goes on. I want to say now maybe 80, 90 years, but really it's so faint what I'm being shown that it's not, what Metatron is saying, set in stone. None of the dates for anything that goes on is ever set in stone. Okay. Just like the natal chart, the birth chart that you're born with is not like a firm path that you have, this is going to happen to you. It's like the way that they show it to me is a dotted line, because free will is involved and you are allowed to change and to grow and to evolve from how you came in, right? I mean, hopefully that happens for us. So I wanted to share that with you. And I don't know, I'm going to just ask if Nostradamus would like me to share anything about him. Just that he is happy to be called upon and that he's always happy to help. He told me, like when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, because they always give me a long lead time to before I actually do it publicly. But he said that he appreciates my attitude and outlook, and that we're very similar, and that we understand that we have a job to do, and that he's matter of fact, like I am with these things. That he began seeing visions and being told things that would play out in the future as a child, and that it was his normal, much like it was my normal with dreams and visions. Okay. All right. So, okay, let's get to the astrology of the full moon. All righty. So, I'm going to just pull up the chart. I recognize that a lot of you are struggling right now. And I don't want to make little of that. It's a real thing when we go through these periods of a shadow, of darkness, when it's a struggle, like to raise the vibration and being able to see the higher perspective. Just be gentle and kind to yourself wherever you are. You're in the right place. And he's saying, like, Metatron is saying, when we're in the tunnel, the long tunnel, it can feel almost like we're walking in place, like we can see the light at the end, but he's saying it feels almost like the light keeps moving further away. And he's saying, trust and believe in yourself, and that you are making progress. Progress is being made. And even if it isn't conscious for you yet, that you can always allow yourself to see the progress, and to he's saying that it can be a challenge to recognize where we've grown, but he's saying that you always deserve recognition, you always deserve admiration. And he's saying, admire yourself, congratulate yourself that you've come this far, and all of the challenges that you've taken on and worked through so far. You always rise to the top, and this period is no different. Okay? So I know that will be helpful for a lot of you to hear that from Metatron. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the full moon in Virgo. So Virgo, at which, you see the moon there, it's at the ascendant. And Virgo, the Virgo Pisces axis that I did, the reason that I did that class first is because it's about the process of bringing heaven, Pisces, to earth, Virgo, and the practical way that heaven is implemented on the earth. And he's saying that starts with a plan. And so a plan of action is always needed whenever there's any urge to move forward or we're feeling stuck. He's saying coming up with a plan of action will always, he's showing me when we make a plan of action, like say you write down some notes and you say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Doesn't have to be anything fancy either. But he's showing me that vibration then, just because you took the time to spend, he's saying, time with yourself and going over the pros and cons of what it is that you'd like to do and how you'd like to move forward, that energy then reverberates out to all that is. He's showing it moving in waves. And he's saying it doesn't have to be a precise plan. He's saying any plan of action that you can make right now is necessary before steps are taken toward the plan, that there needs to be a laid out plan. A lot of people like to say that Metatron is, I see him a lot tied in with the Virgo energy, just because, the Mercury energy, because, it travels Mercury so close to the sun, and it shares the messages of the sun. It's the messenger of the gods, and it's also the higher self and the lower self, that Gemini story. And so Metatron has, to me, he has a lot of Virgo and Capricorn energy. But he's saying that, yes, he's also very joyful, and that we could pull from that Venus transit, the goddess now in her domain of Taurus, where, she loves to pleasure. And he's saying the simple things, enjoying with Virgo, yes, the simple things, the things that happen in every moment, where there's a reason for celebration and celebrating life, and allowing ourselves to remember the things that spark joy in us. And always the answer to the question, what should I do, is what do you want to do? What fills up your heart? And he's talking about, maybe taking time to explore different avenues of where you would like to go next. And he's saying that there's no wrong answers in what it is that you would if you would like to make a choice. Like if you thought, okay, I'd like to do this and this will help a lot of people, but maybe that turns out to be not so fulfilling for you. That's because you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be doing something else. And he is saying right now, dare to be different. Dare to take a different approach to things, to try things in a new way. Because what's interesting with this chart is we have the moon there in Virgo. So that moon answers then to Mercury. Mercury is in his exalted sign right now. He will be stationary retrograde at the time of this full moon, and he's exalted there in Aquarius. And Metatron had me pull the chart, and I did not write down the name of that god. Or it was a people. You guys, I'm going to have to put it in the explanation, or what is it called? The description box below the video where it says show more. It's crit. See if I can read these 5 little letters here. It's Cruit, and then there's going to be more to the word because this only shows the first 5 letters. But the meaning of that asteroid that's found down there by Mercury, it's a Celtic asteroid, and it was the Scottish people who fought against everyone that was trying to invade them, trying to put their beliefs on them, change the way that they did things. They were the ones that fought to keep tradition alive and to keep going and not have to fit in with the crowd. And I've seen a lot of texts lately about, or memes and different people posting things about don't fit in, be different. And that's true, obviously. But, part of the reason that we come here and the reason that we go through the struggles that we do with our parents is so that we can conquer those feelings that we don't belong. You can have a sense of belonging and a feeling of being at home within yourself and with your tribe and still be unique and be different. It's not that we have to keep away from society, but he's saying that we all have our own unique craft that we're working on in this lifetime that to bring forward, and that we can feel a sense of being aligned with other people because we have this tribe on this page, on this channel. We all belong to, a group that decided that we're going to come to our awakening in this lifetime and to grow and to change and to forgive and to move forward from things. So you can feel in this energy because, hang on one second, I need to grab my glasses. You can feel a bit in this energy as if you're left out, with Neptune and the sun being there in that challenging position to the moon, opposing it. You can feel isolated. You can feel what's the point of it all? But really, reaching for that higher energy of inspiration and being drawn to spirit, going within and looking for answers. If you notice in this chart, that combination with the sun and Neptune are in the same house with Chiron and Black Moon Lilith and Michael, where it says Saint Michael. So we've got Archangel Michael in the mix as well. So listening to those higher energies, the higher vibrations. And he's saying, because there was a time that I went through a very difficult period on a healing crisis, and someone told me that I couldn't hear the angels because my vibration was so low. But that is not true. The creator, the energies, the vibrations that come from the pure white light, that are an expression of the creator, they always can meet you wherever you are. They're there with you. Okay, so just trust. If you're going through a difficult time with these energies, trust and believe that you have support. Someone is there on your side. And then Mercury, of course, in Aquarius, where his favorite place to be, where he's exalted, is in connection with, let's just say he is answering to Uranus, because Uranus rules Aquarius, and Uranus is answering to Venus, who is right next to her. You can't really separate those energies. There's Epona, also a Celtic warrior energy, and someone who set about to, her call is about making the earth habitable for everyone, and equality coming to the earth, and recognizing that everyone is worthy and deserving of sharing the resources of the earth, is what she's saying. And so when you see Venus with Uranus, that could be a lot of things coming up about the environment. Maybe more information will be coming out related to the environment and environmental changes. But then also ways that we can work in our little place where we are to help to heal the earth. Doing simple things that help to beautify the earth. And he's taking me back to just recognizing the joy that's around you in the flowers that you see. We're coming up to springtime in the northern hemisphere, beautiful autumn coming for the southern hemisphere. Very shortly, we're coming up on the equinox. And so he's talking about really reaching for the higher vibration of light. And light, he's saying, always penetrates darkness. Light finds you wherever you are. And so, I heard like a lot of not so happy, when people were talking about the energies of this full moon and saying, it may be very difficult. It does look to be emotional. I think that a lot of us are already feeling that emotion. There seems to just be a lot of fear and sadness in the ethers kind of thing. And the only way to keep yourself out of that riffraff is to ground yourself. And yes, walking outside is fantastic. And anything that you can do, spending time in water, taking a bath. But if that is still not, working for you, make sure he's saying, check on your root chakra. And so that's just, taking deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, and seeing yourself like breathing through the root chakra. And then witnessing as the energy comes up from the earth to the root chakra, and just watching it flow, he's saying, the exchange of energy, and feeling that you're supported by Gaia right now. This could be, again, pretty much every chart that I've looked at these last couple of years with moon events points to earth changes, but this is a full moon. And Mercury and this retrograde period, which ends on the 9th, is wrapping up that Saturn-Pluto story. I believe once he finishes Pisces, he's going to move forward, and then he'll move out of Pisces on April 11th. And then we'll be when Mercury, Mercury moves out of Pisces April 11th. And then I feel like it will be a big uplift in energy once that happens, and we can really feel like we're moving forward. But I'm not going to say wait till April 11th to move forward. Of course, it's always different timing for different people, but it will be, he's saying, very fortunate when that energy begins to move forward, that things are going to start falling into place. Just trust and believe that if there are things that you've had questions about, not only to say expect, but trust and believe that the answers will make themselves known. And he's showing me like a book opening where the pages have been stuck together for a long time, so we weren't able to see what was written on those pages. He's showing me that book opening and being unfolded, is what he's saying, the answers unfolding. So he wanted me to talk about the degree of the full moon. So this is happening at 19 degrees of Virgo. And the Omega symbol is a procession of dancers and musicians joyously moving through a forest. Speak your mind. Spiritual wisdom and magic is the angelic answer for this degree. It says you are constantly aware of the inherent joy and wonder of life and want others to always keep that in the forefront of their consciousness as well. Even when life is difficult and chaotic with no end of troubles in sight, you have a strong knowing that if we can celebrate, eventually we will have more and more reason to do so. One of the biggest problems here is that the more one focuses on the small things, the more we find them. And so there is a necessity to always be asking yourself which details are the most important to you, which are calling to you in the loudest and clearest voices. So the clarion call of what can I do to get myself ready? We got a new moon coming in Aries at the end of this month with the solstice energies. Not solstice, the equinox. The equinox energies. I'll be glad when Mercury's done. listening to the inner voice. Where do you want your focus? Where's your focus? What are you focused on? That's important. That determines, like, your thinking determines your emotional state. And it also, the emotional state of the heart and the state of the mind are putting energy out. Whether we're conscious of it or not, that's always happening. We're always sending energy out from our vibration to all that is. And so we want to make sure that we're focusing on what's uplifting and where do we want to go moving forward. And, getting our priorities straight, making that plan of action. And he's talking about, and then the universe meets us halfway always. I'd say more than halfway, because that's how it played out for me. Once I took a step, it was like everything just came together. So we're getting ready to move forward. We're not giving into fear. And I'll be happy for that new moon in Aries. I know a lot of you will be as well. And wrapping up this cycle as Mercury begins to move out of Pisces. Remember that Neptune with the sun, which we're pretty much in that conjunction right now. Neptune and the sun can make you sleepy, but it's great for dreams. It's great for intuitive gifts coming forward. It's great for, he's talking about revelations, things that have gone on behind the veil, beyond the veil, coming to light, the end of confusion as we move through this period. So yes, it will be good. I'm very excited. I'll be happy when this is all a couple weeks from now, or 10 days or so, wrapping up that cycle. So anyway, everyone, I hope that you found this helpful, and I'm sending so much love to all of you. And let's really pay attention to that Venus and Taurus energy, the goddess being there in Taurus. She's going to go into, once she gets through Taurus and goes into Gemini, she'll be there for a while with a retrograde. So yeah, I'm looking forward to spending time outdoors more and more in the Northern Hemisphere, if you're able to do that, and grounding, and really, just being in a state of, he's saying, bliss. And just watching things play out and not getting emotionally involved in them. Anyway, everybody, unless it has, of course, something to do with us, but otherwise we don't need to dip into all of that. Really, be careful with protecting yourself. This Sun, Neptune can be almost like a sponge where we're soaking in. I realized this morning, I got my nails done, and I realized that I was feeling the sadness of the person that was working on me. It was awful. But really being careful with that, because we can be pulling in a lot of things that have nothing to do with us at all. And typically that will be fear. And then he's also talking about monitoring and being cognizant of what you're feeding your mind right now. And so I suppose I'll address that. I've noticed a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, a channeling that was very, for those of you who are in tune enough, you can see how the person that's channeling is linking in. And a lot of times it's not a clear connection to the source of pure love, just because they're used to, out of habit, going a different way just from other lifetimes that they've done it. So really being careful and, he's saying not completely, always looking to your own discernment, trusting that you have the discernment of the Creator to help you filter through some of the things out there right now. Okay, because there's a lot of people getting caught up in that same, what I was talking about, like the media hype. One of the latest is something going on late this year. I haven't heard anything about that. But if anything comes up, I'll let you know. Just remember, dates and times, that's not the way that it works. And even with astrology, you can't say something's going to happen on a certain day. You can say that this configuration comes together on a certain day, but you can't say what planet's going to go by and knock that into motion. That's not possible. So, that's brain candy, as Vienna Stiebel likes to say, brain candy. And we don't need to get swept up in the brain candy, okay? We got enough stuff going on without the brain candy interference. So, anyway, everybody, I hope that you find this helpful. Take care of yourselves. I'm sending all of you so much love. I will be back next week. I'll bring another message forward. We'll see what it'll be. I have a big Metatron message that I'm bringing forward pretty soon. But I don't know exactly. That's just, waiting for the collective to be ready to hear certain messages. That's why when we're given something to say, it's important to wait until the timing of it comes together. So, all right, everybody, take care of yourselves. Sending you so much love and good health. And I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.